It is May 12th, and I just wanted to capture what I think is the most magical season here. All of Dawn's flowers are in bloom. Her tulips, daffodils that she planted, and oh yes, and the whole backdrop is, well, dandelions and violets, which I love, and Virginia bluebells in full bloom. It's just glorious. So yeah, come along for a little garden tour, because I am proud to say that this being the 4th year of the garden is probably the year I'm most on top of things, keeping things tidy and just getting a head start planting. I had I have 3 big things I've been trying to work on this year versus others. One is planting early, like kind of following the idea of winter sowing. So first of all, I got lots of seeds in the ground as soon as I could work it this spring. That's why I now have peas like a foot tall, and the whole back bed, all those greens are sprouting because I planted early April, early as I could, even before the heat spell we got. Yeah, and I'm trying to plant just about every bed, even the beds that I can't put the warmer weather crops in, like tomatoes or peppers or squash, till the last frost, which isn't till the end of May. So that's like 2 months of like cool enough weather to be outside gardening, that the ground would be just sitting fallow. So instead what I did was I threw down a lot of lettuce, a lot of greens, and I am trying to use some beds like this one for just transplants. So I put lots and lots of rows of kale and some collards in the back. Whoa, these really popped up a lot in the last several days. And I've already begun like just digging these up, the best, the biggest, and transplanting them around this garden and to my other community garden. So I've got a new variety of pigeon pink ornamental kale I just transplanted out. This bed next to the doorway, I am kind of shifting what I'm doing with it, making it more ornamental, putting flowers and herbs in. Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to plant out early, fill all the beds, and then just transplant things out if they're in the way of the crops I put in later. So that's what I did here. This will be my tomato area. I just filled it with greens and lettuces, some onions, and I got great germination, so many varieties. And yeah, I'm about to throw the tomatoes in any day. So I'm very pleased with that. Okay, just take a moment to appreciate the beautiful tulips there. Okay, my 3rd biggest project is, this is the 4th year of gardening, and the beds had gotten a little untidy, and this year the electric or tree service came by and chopped down trees that were right along the road and just left piles of wood chips right on the edge of the property. So I've had access to that easy resource, and there's free compost from the city. So I have no excuse. Like, I can basically do whatever I want with the garden, like layout and stuff. So what I noticed after 3 years of gardening, these beds have kind of shrunk. And they were just very raised, kind of like hilled mounds almost, which I don't think is my ideal. So I am laying down wood chips, and I put compost, you can see already. I put compost on the edges to widen them, and I'm trying to raise the wood chip level to be more even with the compost. I still have to put in a lot more wood chips, a lot of wheelbarrow trips, but yeah, I have a lot of work to do on this end. I don't want the pathways being as big. I'm also trying to maximize growing space, which has always been my goal. So what have I got going? Well, a lot already. Peas and, oh, this is very exciting. I discovered it today. My radishes are filling out, so that will be probably my first radish. I planted radishes and beets intermixed all along the edges of the peas. I did plant lettuces also here, but I only got good germination on this side, so I'm probably just going to transplant out all my other excesses to fill these gaps. Back here I did lettuces and radishes, some carrots and onions in the back. This all came back from last year. Walking onions, I still have to thin them out more. They just grow so aggressively, which is a great thing, yep. But all this green here is lettuce that just self-sowed from last year. I think it's romaine. It's getting nice and frilly. It was actually the first seedlings to pop up in my garden soil. So what I did is I took some of those and I transplanted them out, like they're the green patch there. And all this I transplanted out from that overgrown patch. So yeah, it'll be a lot of abundance. And all this is later lettuce that I sowed, head lettuce, doing well. More head lettuce back there and onions and the happy rhubarb plant. This was my failed plot. I tried sprouting greens indoors and transplanting them out, like pak choi, arugula, and mitsuna, and it didn't work. We got a hot spell. I didn't water enough, didn't have it mulched with compost. So it's now going to be Dawn's bed. She's going to fill it with flowers, and that'll be great. There's always failures and successes, but just trying to overplant is my goal this year. And what is not a failure is the whole back area. I planted early and got pretty full germination. Some chard, those transplanted lettuce. Beautiful spinach just starting to leaf out. So many varieties of lettuce. So many. I'm very excited about this because I really don't buy lettuce during like the whole year. I buy kale sometimes and cabbage. That's mostly what I use for salads because they're, I don't know, more cold season sort of crops, thinking of eating more seasonally. So I'm already getting so excited. I love lettuce. I love salads that are filled with delicate, crisp lettuce. So I'm already dreaming about all the dressings to go on them. And I just hope to never run out, if that's possible. I am trying to grow lettuce under the peas for shade once it gets hotter to try to sustain the harvest. Same thing under the tomatoes. So we'll see how that goes. Here, got some turnips germinating, filling all this area. This was an experiment. I direct sowed tomatoes and had them covered with this on the cold days. And like, I also started tomatoes indoors, but I wanted to see how this would work, if they'd come up any earlier than other stuff. They didn't really, but I probably will use them because I got full germination practically. There's like 8 varieties here betwixt the two. And they're already acclimated to the outdoor climate. So yeah, I hope they'd be more sturdy than my indoor ones, which are only, I don't know, a little ahead of these anyway. This was a happy surprise. I think it's beets, possibly chard. I must have spilled the seeds, but I got so many. I've been transplanting them out to other areas of the garden. Always love when things pop up on their own. I think this is the only bed by now that I haven't planted out. I've got garlic came back from last year. I'm gradually planting more radishes like every couple weeks just in this bed till I figure out what else I'm going to plant there. And they're already getting great germination. Just trying to have like extended harvest of that. I'm not very good at succession planting, but I have been a little more on top of that this year. My kohlrabi didn't have great germination. Thankfully I started some indoors too. Try to do it both ways. Another thing I haven't had great germination with is I planted like rutabaga here. I don't think much came up at all. Turnips are doing well. Chard there. I did buy some plant starts. I usually don't, but there was an inner city greenhouse. It was for a good cause through Teens Grow Greens, where they have high schoolers intern there. And I was just motivated to buy more stuff than I would. And they had super neat varieties, black magic kale and red boar, which I didn't buy the seeds because I was buying so much already. There's a couple other things that came back from last year. Parsley, it always does so well. It's a perennial. My onions, the beets, and chard actually came back. So look at this. This is chard from last year. Huge head start on the little seedling chard. Oh, hello, little cilantro sprouts. Tried to interplant here. Yeah, very excited. Oh yes, this came back from last year too. Premier Kale. This is the second year, so it's shooting up. Flower stalks, which are great in salads. I thoroughly enjoyed my salad with the Premier Kale. It's not my favorite. It is a more tender kale, so better for fresh salad eating, but it is so sturdy. I had many plants come back from last year when no other kale variety did, and I was eating the kale way past the first frost last fall too. Just, yeah, grabbing old leaves, feeding it to the chickens in the middle of the winter. Highly recommend for that. This is hoping for a perennial herb bed, kind of rethinking what I do with the space. And this I'm so happy about. It's my lemon balm that I started from seed last year, and it has come back so rich. I hope it gets quite large and sticks around a very long time. This chamomile self-sowed itself from last year. Sage came back as a perennial. My thyme came back. I did also buy lavender. We'll see how that goes. Here it's a little hard to grow, but oh yes, and of course the nice long asparagus patch that is starting to really pump out its shoots. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's just so beautiful. It's too much to take in, but I thought I'd just share a little snippet of it. I am very blessed to live here and get to work on this space, and yeah, glad to let you in on a tiny snippet.